title of the book says that 12 fundamental rules, power, influence, and success for women.
Yeah.
This is a very direct title. Like, you are promising a lot of stuff. This
Yes.
this is when a reader picks it up, they'll be expecting a lot.
About the differences between men and women. I think it was very important for me to highlight it in a certain way because I, for one, don't think of myself as a woman on a day-to-day basis when I'm working. I'm a doctor. I work with companies. I'm an investor. So I don't think of myself as a woman when I'm interacting and when I'm working day to day. And I think that I'm assuming that most women don't as well. It is only when certain situations come up that you are forced to think that. I started entering into the workforce back in India. Also, I think it was a similar situation, and I felt that maybe one of the advantages, like if I move to the West, that I will not face those kind of situations. And to my surprise, lo and behold, it is even more over here. I make that comparison that yes, because men are able to separate that, success in one doesn't mean success in the other, but at the same time, failure in one also doesn't make their world collapse. Whereas for women, one area of failure and the whole world collapses. You may be doing excellent professionally, but if you have a desire to become a mother, but that is not coming out to be true and it's taking time, it is going to affect how you feel overall and how you perform, and you're going to lose meaning in everything. Neuroplasticity is nothing else but how your neurons reconnect with each other based on the the experiences, the thoughts, the behaviors or the actions that you take, and even the memory or what you have gone through and how you have interpreted your experience. So all of those things will change how your neurons or how your brain functions in the future. And if that continues generation after generation,
How to be that authentic self when there's so much going on?
it took a lot of research to find out what all authenticity means. And I think for me, and how to answer your question about how to be authentic, I think it's about connecting with your inner self. The most important thing for me always has been to keep growing and not get comfortable in where we have reached in our lives. And I think luckily my husband resonated the same feelings, and I think we made this very crazy decision to move here.
Hello, book nerds. Welcome to the Booknerds Podcast. I'm your host, Rohan Raj. And at Booknerds Podcast, we discuss deep dive into books which we love and host authors which are both established and indie. So today's book, it's called Chasing Success in High Heels, 12 Fundamental Rules, Power, Influence, and Success for Women. I have the PDF, so I'm showing you the book cover on my phone. But yeah, this book, I know there are a lot of self-help books out there, and we see them every day on LinkedIn. But this is quite a direct book, targeting women in particular. Although I didn't get the feeling that it was just for women. It is quite direct in its narrative. It tries to inform women what they are capable of, how they are different from men, and the differentiation between men and women. It targets patriarchy very directly, and that's what I loved about the book. Several other things were discussed during the podcast with Dr. Miral S Mehta, who is the author, and we discussed examples from history, from science, of women who have done really well, like Madame Curie, Cleopatra, several other names like Sheryl Sandberg. All these things are encapsulated in this podcast. I would suggest you watch the entire podcast to discuss, listen to our conversation, which touched on many topics, even science like neuroplasticity, how conditioning affects how women grow up and think about themselves and the world. We discuss workplaces, so many things. So watch the podcast. I'm sure it will have some knowledge information for you, and do let us know in the comments whether you liked it or not. Did you love the conversation? Read the book, get it from Amazon, and do let us know in the comments. And yeah, thank you. And go ahead and watch the podcast, and do subscribe to Book Nerds on YouTube, where we are at Book Nerds. Happy reading. Thank you so much. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Booknerds Podcast. This month it has been it's almost like it's self-help month. We have hosted so many authors who have written in the genre, and that gives me a lot of perspective on it helps me personally, but I'm sure that it'll be helping you as you go forward in your life. And today we have a book which was very interesting for me. I'll show you the book cover. It's called Chasing Success in High Heels. Dr. Miral, if you have a physical copy, that would be great.
Yes.
I have the PDF copy. So I was
Okay.
reading on my e-device, and so it's harder to kind of show the book cover in
Absolutely.
there
Hmm.
because of the light. But yeah, Chasing Success in High Heels. At first, I thought, why am I reading this book? Because because of the heels. But I figured out very quickly that the title may suggest that. I mean, the TG may be for women, but I didn't feel, while in the narrative, I didn't feel that it was only about women, and it is relevant for everyone. So that's something which I appreciated about the book. Uh, whilst understanding why it has been targeted to women, because yeah, you have some really strong opinions, to be honest. First of all, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Dr. Miral. And yeah, how are you feeling after the launch of the book and first impressions, whatever you're getting from readers, or whatever the first wave, as they say? What's happening on that count?
Um, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me on here. The first wave of impressions that I'm getting is very positive. As you mentioned, this is a very direct book. So while I was writing it, I was a little bit concerned about the impression it will create, especially because of the editors that I was working with. They were
Yeah.
concerned about me being too direct or too bold about certain things.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that if I'm writing something, I want it to be true to myself and true to who I am. And I think that is how people think and function in their day to day lives. And I kept it very raw, very natural like that. And I'm very happy that it is being received very well.
Great, great, great. And I think you made the right choice by choosing your voice. Sometimes what happens is that the voice gets diluted when it goes through multiple editors, multiple beta readers. People say, no, don't be too direct, but it's your
Mhm.
voice, right? If you dilute it too much, yeah, what's the whole point?
Absolutely.
Then why write a book in your
And
name?
that was what was I was thinking as well, that if I have to change the way I write it, then why do I need to write it? Someone else can write it.
Yeah, it could well have been written by someone else, right? So and congratulations on that, just maintaining the voice. And it is quite direct, to be honest, because some people who may not be used to that voice, kind of
Hmm.
voice, that being very blunt about many things and putting it as it is, will get a little, kind of a shock in the introduction of the book, maybe the first couple of chapters, and then they'll settle perhaps. So, but I had a great time because I love people who are direct and tell me as it is, because that's how I know that whether I'm doing well or not, whether I'm kind of performing or not performing, whether I'm in the right place in my life or not. So that's why I really appreciated the book. Okay, let's first of all talk about the origin story. As I say,
Hmm.
every author, every superhero, every character has their origin story, and this particular paragraph uh, was very interesting for me. I'll just read it. It'll
Sure.
take a bit of time, but it sets the context of it all, because readers should realize that a lot of readers and writers on LinkedIn, especially, they feel that everybody is liking writing a self-help book, right? It's a
Right.
trend. It's a trend. Whether you have a voice, whether you have a topic or not, you should write a book because you need authority. So here I would like to clarify that where it comes from. So I would love to read this part. Uh, it takes a lot of courage, patience, and humility to be able to leave everything, come to a new country and start over. Maybe it was a yearning to do more, have a bigger impact. Maybe it was this crazy desire to break out of the comfort zone. It did not take a moment's hesitation to leave for new adventures, new horizons, with a new life of 32 weeks taking form inside of me. I was like blown away because it's kind of a very dangerous territory, to be honest. I'm not sure how much we were willing to take on with this leap of faith, but I can say it took a lot. Faith, love, courage of the unborn soul, and blessings of our ancestors. All of this fueled our journey over the coming years. So, giving context, this is about you and your family moving to another country to start a new life, take on newer challenges. So, a bit about the origin story, and then we'll go on to other things that are concerned primarily with the book.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for reading that, and thanks for sharing that. A lot of times I get asked, like, why? Why did we move? Why did we leave our career? So, I'm a doctor. I was practicing as an ophthalmologist in Mumbai. My husband was practicing as a criminal defense lawyer in Mumbai, and we both left it and we came here to be no one in the beginning, and then, to rebuild our careers. And as I've written in there, I think the most important thing for me always has been to keep growing and not get comfortable in where we have reached in our lives. And I think, luckily, my husband resonated the same feelings, and I think we made this very crazy decision to move here. And when we did, I think when we planned on doing that, it just felt like, we are going to provide like a good work-life balance to ourselves, and at the same time create a bigger impact. Because as you know, like in India, crazy work hours, and you work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. Yeah. And we were planning a family, and we wanted to give a certain upbringing to our children. Yeah. Yes, they miss out on having grandparents while we are here and raising them over here. But I think that whatever our grandparents and our parents have taught us, I think we are able to teach them to teach them that over here. But in addition to giving them that kind of an upbringing that we are completely a part of, I think that was one of the major things that made us move. And while we took out time to raise our family, we did not want to compromise on our careers, and we wanted to continue to make impact. So I felt that outside of India, the opportunity to do both the things simultaneously was there, and that is why we took that jump.
Yeah, that's great. And you got better air. Let's not talk about the air right now. Although I'm very lucky to have good air in near the Himalayas, but a lot of us don't have it right now. So it was, but it takes a sort of, like you said, that everybody needs to be on board. It doesn't happen with just one person thinking that you will move across oceans and everything will work out or not or whatever. It's hard. Not everybody can pull it off. But I'm happy that you have. And let's get to the other part, because which year was this when you moved?
This was back in 2012.
12. Okay, so it's a while now. So it's like 13 odd years.
13 years, yes.
Why this book? Because everybody in the comments will be asking this.
Yes.
That पहले ये तो पूछो कि why write the book? Why is it needed? Because especially on LinkedIn, people are like, another self-help book. Why?
So again, when I started thinking about writing a book, I questioned myself about the same thing as well. Why is a book needed? Why do I need to write this book? I don't think it is necessary. And I think one of the most important reasons why I did that was to get over that the fact that yes, it is not easy, and at the same time, would I do it again all over if I had this opportunity? If I went back 13 years, would I do it again? Yes, I would. Maybe I would do certain things differently, but I would still take the jump. So I think that one of the main reasons to write this book was to make sure that I share my lessons and not any of the, say, negative experiences that I may have had, or any kind of tough times that I have had. And I'm also very personal person, like, very I'm a very private person, so I don't like sharing private details. But I felt that the lessons that I have learned over the last 13 years, I've learned more lessons in my last 13 years of life as compared to what I've learned before. Because, like in India, you grow up in a
Yeah.
known environment, a known protected environment amongst your known protected people. I think that prevents you from learning certain lessons in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody is
Yeah.
there to help us out mostly.
Yeah, everybody's
So,
there to help us out. And, like, this was like a shock. Like, you come thinking that it's going to be a rosy world out here, and then you come out, and then you realize that, oh my God, like, you are jolted back to reality.
yeah. I've
So that,
been there, and I also had this notion of,
yeah.
growing up in the 90s, being an 80s kid, we all were fascinated by the
Mhm.
West, and we grew up, wanting
Yes.
to be there, and all of
Yes.
a sudden when it hits you,
Yes.
there are so many things that hit you at the same time
True.
that you all of a sudden it's like, homesickness is the first thing that
Yeah.
comes in. But yeah, we'll talk about all those things,
Yeah. Yeah.
a bit later.
So that,
But
and I would also like to add, like, the other reason I wrote the book was also because of my daughter. Like, my daughter is 13 years old. I was pregnant with her when we moved here.
oh yes, yes, yes,
So
yeah,
she has, I would say, technically been a part of this whole journey, and she has seen me through it all the time. But I think that sharing these lessons with her at this point in time by writing a book, I think maybe it will help her not make the same mistakes. I mean, she is free to do her own mistakes, and she will make her own mistakes and learn from them. But any lessons that I can give her beforehand,
yeah.
at least she'll have that much of a strength and that much of a backup to kind of have her courage, give her the courage to take her own challenges.
Yes, I'll ask about her impressions of the book a bit later.
Okay.
But the subtitle of the book says that 12 fundamental rules, power, influence, and success for women.
Yeah.
This is a very direct title. Like, you are promising a lot of stuff. This
Yes.
this is when a reader picks it up, they'll be expecting a lot.
Yes.
So, and I went into it having not really knowing it, because I didn't have a look at the book cover.
Mm-hmm.
I went directly into the book
Yes.
because I had the PDF version.
Right.
It didn't have the book cover, and I really went into the book, and then I went back to the book cover, and I was like, oh, okay, now I figured it out. It was a
Yes.
strange way to find a book, right? So, but you talk about women and men at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the book, and you
Right.
define and differentiate between them, how they are made, how they
Mm-hmm.
think, how are they different,
Yes.
and a bit about that, and how we have kind of trivialized how
Yes.
the lines are kind of blurring,
Yes.
and it's different in the East and the West. What are your overall impressions about this and this part of the book?
So I think that, like, when we think about, like, about the differences between men and women, I think it was very important for me to highlight it in a certain way. Because
Right.
I, for one, like, don't think of myself as a woman on a day-to-day basis when I'm working. Like, I'm a doctor. I work with companies. I'm an investor. So I don't
Right.
think of myself as a woman when I'm interacting and when I'm working day to day. And I think that I'm assuming that most women don't as well. It is only when certain situations come up that you are forced to think that, okay, is this because I'm a woman that I am not able to, or allowed to, or prevented from, am I prevented from entering into certain rooms, or, like, making certain decisions? And I never was trained or taught to think that way. Even, like, when I was being raised in India, like, my parents never differentiated between me and my brother. Like, we were just people, and, like, that is how I grew up. And as I started entering into the workforce back in India also, I think it was a similar situation. And I felt that maybe one of the advantages, like, if I move to the West, that I will not face those kind of situations. And to my surprise, lo and behold, it is even more over here as compared to what it is over there. So yes, you get upset about it, you get angry about it at times, and even in situations when I'm dealing with over here, like I feel like I want to fight, but at the same time, like and while I've been fighting with this situation for the last 13 years now, I have now started looking it as not a fight for myself, but I think it is a fight that I'm putting up for the rest of the women who come after me. That could be my daughter, that could be other women as well. And in this book, I wanted to highlight not just how women think, but also how men think, because probably the patriarchy or the male thought process is not really aimed at suppressing women as such, but they are like just territorial, and like highlighting that difference and having men and women both look at things in a different manner maybe might convert this fight or this struggle between men and women into more of a, like how can we understand, accept, and make room for both, because nobody's trying to take each other anything away from each other. And I
Yeah.
think that is why this book was like so direct, and I had to go back into the origin story of, like how men's thought process and how women's thought process came to where it is today.
Yeah. Um, you have clearly mentioned women desire stability, safety, security,
Hmm.
balance, and compassion. They strive to nurture community and family and aim for cohesion, compatibility, and egalitarianism. Men, on the other hand, gravitate towards stability with adventure, safety, and security with competition, and in doing so, balance and compassion have been replaced with survival of the fittest, which
Yes.
is quite. I think it's a fact, and this definition is not
Hmm.
clear to people. I don't think
Yes.
so. It is because we have a very vague understanding of who we are in general,
Hmm.
who we are as people. Leave alone
Hmm.
men and women, the broader classification.
That's right.
Can you be a little bit more specific about the differences? You talked about some differences, like you
Yes.
thought that in the West, and I also have that thought process that it would be easier in the
Hmm.
West, or maybe if even if we compare within India, say
Hmm.
in tier three or tier two cities, there is
Yes.
always this thing that,
Yes.
oh, I live in Mumbai. I mean, somebody in maybe an Uttar Pradesh or Bihar would have not those kind of experiences, and they
Right.
are like that.
Yes.
But you said that in the West you encountered the same things in a different way, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But what some example which could perhaps make it more clear for the listeners?
So I think the main thing that I faced was, like being in a profession that over here is largely male dominated. Like
Right.
in India, I think growing up and studying to become a doctor, I think in India, yes, there are
Very
men
good.
and women both as doctors, and I think that. Maybe because of the population that we have there, that there are equal number of men and women in the workforce, or sometimes even a
It
large
has
number of
improved.
women,
It has
right?
improved a lot. It has
It has
improved a
improved a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
And so over here, I think that there is still a big gap between that. Like I think there is still like I'm one of the maybe say 7 female ophthalmologists in the city,
Okay.
and out of that, only one of the 3 who own their own business,
Right.
and out of that, only one who has tried to compete with the biggest offices owned by men in the city. So again, it is something that uh, there are different ways to look at it, but I think I would say I separate this in 2 ways. Like one is that, like how decision making works in men. I think it's like in my book I have illustrated at some point that it is a very direct process. Like it's very very logical, like decision making process that men have, and when I say that, yes, you think about the whole picture also, but I think at the same time, they also think about competition, and they also think about their territorial nature as well comes into play. And I think because of that, they not only worry about what's in their basket, they also worry about what's in your basket, and I want that too, right? Or at least I'll break them. Even if I don't get it, I'll break them. So sometimes I think that comes into play. I think, and they don't mean harm to you as a person or you as a woman. I think they
Yeah.
may be territorial with other men also sometimes, and also with other women. um, and then women, like, decision making process for women is much more deeper, because I think we involve our hearts in pretty much everything that we think about. And I think I'm proud about that. Like, yes, while I would say that I can work and function equally as a man, I feel proud to say that yes, I do make decisions and involve my heart also in my decision making process. I just don't only process logically.
Yeah.
And then the second is, like, how men are able to separate their lives into, like, two separate sections, like personal life, professional life, and
Yeah.
clearly separate the two boundaries, never allowing one to affect the other. Like, just to give an example of Elon Musk, I was just joking about that with my husband the other day when we were talking about this topic. I'm like, well,
What an example.
I'm like, he may have had so many divorces, still
Goodness.
he flourishes professionally. Like, it doesn't
Doesn't
affect
he have
his.
a ranch or something?
So again, looking at the positives, right? Like, when I make that comparison, I make that comparison that yes, because men are able to separate that,
Yeah.
success in one doesn't mean success in the other, but at the same time, failure in one also doesn't make their world collapse. Whereas for women, one area of failure and the whole world collapses. Like, you may be doing excellent professionally, but if you have a desire to become a mother, but that is not coming out to be true and it's taking time, it is going to affect how you feel overall and how you perform, and, like, you're going to lose meaning in everything. So I think having that distinction is what separates men from women. It's just that we are tuned in with different things within our systems, and that is why we think differently.
Yeah. I think you're so right. I was talking to a team member, and she was going through some stuff. I mean, she was not doing well in terms of health, and her, obviously, for obvious reasons, her performance was not that creative of late. Like maybe a couple of months or 3 months. So we were confused, like, what's happening. She's such a great performer, like full of zest and whatnot, and all of a sudden there is something weird going on. So we spoke to her, and it exactly what you're saying happened.
Okay.
She was not doing well with her health, and she was struggling to manage everything else, like five things you have to
Yes.
come up with as a college student. She's a college student. So yeah, you're so right that it's all interconnected. And do you feel that there is a sort of differentiation when it comes to men and women with this the Gen Z today, because they are so sensitive towards everything, or this is an observation with whatever, the millennials, like people like us who can separate stuff.
Yeah, I think I would say it's again, Gen Z. I'm still trying to understand, but yes, I think the Gen Zs who are already in the workforce, they are still, I think, a little bit tuned to think like us. The very young Gen Zs or the Gen Alphas that are coming up, I don't know how that's going to be, but I think they will have struggles of their own, because I think we are making them too soft. We
Yeah,
are making them too sensitive to emotions.
yeah,
And I always tell my kids, like, my kids sometimes may think that I'm a heartless mother, but I tell them that emotions don't matter. They come and go. Like, yes, you share your emotions, get it out, vent it out, but at the same
yes,
time, don't focus on it so much that
yeah.
it takes over your whole life.
Yeah. You speak about, I mean, you have written about the niceness culture,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
um, it's very hard to kind of, balance this, especially in organizations, in workspaces. Um, what are your observations about this? And you have written in detail, of course, in the book. But what do you feel about this niceness culture which is there?
I think this niceness culture, I think it is the same. Like, we have come up with this niceness culture mainly because we are focusing on the emotions, right? And I think that in this niceness culture, we are promoting mediocrity so much that yes, in the when they are young, saying like "good job," "oh, that's great, you did so good for everything."
Yeah.
Like, I personally, I don't believe in that. Yes, kids need encouragement, and I will always say positive things about what was positive. But at the same time, I will also point out to my children, like, what are the things that they can work on, or that they can get better on. And maybe today they might not like it, but I think it is important because as they grow up and when they come out into the real world, they are going to get real feedback.
Yeah.
But if we are not giving them real feedback when they are young, and we are asking them to prioritize emotions, I think we are making them into such weak individuals as they grow up. I feel worried that they will break at every turn that they feel that they are not doing good or they receive a real feedback, they are going to
Yeah.
break. So I think it is very important that we, as parents, as teachers, or as the adults in the society right now, keep it real as much as possible and like avoid just the niceness culture that we have.
That is so true. I mean, I'm getting a lot of this around me,
Yeah.
and because everybody is telling me like people have become so woke, right? In all ways.
Yes.
Not that it's
Yes.
a woke is bad or something. It's not bad, but there is a place for it. Like
Yeah.
you can be woke about certain stuff,
That's
but
right.
not woke about everything, right?
Yes. True.
So I get so much of this. Don't tell your kids to kind of don't be angry at your kids. Like, how is that possible? How is
Yeah.
that possible? I don't understand it. But yeah, I think giving balanced feedback or the
Mm-hmm.
right feedback, it's important. Otherwise, when they get, if they become an influencer or something in the future and they get real comments,
Yes.
then they will just break down.
Yeah.
They won't
Yeah.
be able to take it. And
That's true.
this will happen. Great. You talk about, so what I appreciated about the book was that it has got the right amount of science in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of books are lacking in it. Many of the books are kind of just going to ChatGPT and figuring out research from there, which is not good. So, being a science person yourself, you have talked about neuroplasticity
Mm-hmm.
with respect to men and women, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very interesting because we don't really think about all this. Like
Yeah.
a lot of us are, like a lot of people are not tuned into science anyways.
Right.
We don't understand it, we don't read about it,
Mm-hmm.
and the social media we consume, science, let's be honest, science is not the priority there. If you are subscribed to a particular channel, then it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, science will not be in your algorithm mostly.
That's true.
So
Yes.
a bit about this, because to understand how men and women behave, how
Mm-hmm.
to perhaps understand society and
Right.
social, sort of the understanding of how people interact,
Right.
it's very important. A bit about this. Why have you written about this?
So, like you mentioned neuroplasticity. I mean, I think, I mean, as a doctor, I do learn about that, and as a science, person, a science enthusiast, I do understand and learn and read about those kind of things. But at the same time, I also love history. Like I love reading about the events of the past and how that shaped the culture of the society of the life today. So I think even I realized while writing this book that actually there is a connection between the two, because when I have a scientific mind on, I have a scientific mind on. When I was when I'm a history buff, I'm a history buff. But I think this book made me go deeper, think deeper, and find the connections, because I think culturally men and women have had different experiences throughout history. And neuroplasticity is nothing else but how your neurons reconnect with each other based on the, say, the experiences, the thoughts, the behaviors, or the actions that you take, and even the memory, or what you have gone through and how you have interpreted your experience. So all of those things will change how your neurons or how your brain functions. In the future, and if that continues generation after generation, and the differences in the life that men and women had right from the stone age to today, I think that has really shaped, how I was telling you about the territorial nature, or men want to dominate in certain ways, which is not something that they have learned right now, but it is just something that is a learned behavior because they were meant to be providers and protectors.
Yeah.
And understanding that, I think understanding and realizing the context of neuroplasticity, with the history that we have all lived, I think that can help us understand and accept and move forward in a completely different manner. Because usually we see these topics being argued about as feminism and anti-feminism, and like, it is patriarchy, or like, misogyny. Like, I think there is a difference, and all of those are their own terms, but at the same time, if we understand the origins of that, maybe we can deal with it in a better, in a more civil, in a more educated manner.
Yeah. So true. I mean,
Yeah.
this, whatever you call it, neuroplasticity or
Yeah.
conditioning over the
Yes.
years, it starts like, I think it starts in mythology. You know,
Yes.
you just kind of read about these stories,
Mm-hmm.
and then you are just made, you just become that. I mean,
Yes.
it's as easy as that. You get influenced, and
Yeah.
most of these stories have been written from the perspective of male figures. I mean,
Yes.
most of it, and that is kind of a bit alarming also. I couldn't understand that, and
Yes.
very later on in life I realized that, oh my gosh, why
Mm-hmm.
are all these writers male? Like,
Yes.
why is so? I read this book by Volga. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Sita.
Okay.
A great book,
Yes.
perspective, a female perspective on mythology,
Right.
and yeah, I was amazed. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think
Yeah.
about this. I never thought from the perspective of, Sita,
Mm.
what's happening.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. I think it's about POV.
Yeah.
I think
And you know
that's
what? I think what I was also surprised about during my research is that, like, sitting in India, we always think that the West has a better view of the world, or the West has got, like,
yeah,
better balance of the world. And I was so surprised to learn that it's actually the Eastern cultures that gave equal importance to men and women at that time.
yeah,
And, like, even like the fact that we have goddesses in our culture,
yeah. Oh yeah,
whereas over here, even till the 20th century, I think women were not considered to be the people who have brains in them. So I think it is it was a shock and a good realization, I would say. Like,
yeah,
it helped me build a little bit of a pride for the roots that
yeah,
we have in our Indian culture,
yeah.
that we sometimes tend to ignore, or, like, we don't even know sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. We have so many goddesses. I think
Hmm.
the perspective that was needed for these stories to come out, that is not
That
there.
was, yes,
That
that's
is
true.
not there, but it has come out in a beautiful way in
Yes.
recent years, where
Yes.
many authors kind of figure out, oh, okay, we can
Yeah.
tell this story from a different perspective.
Yeah.
It's about just a point of view, and
Hmm.
so many books have come out
Yeah.
from the female perspective, and that's great. I think so that has redefined our literature, because most of it was oral
Yes.
previously. So now it's kind of settling down. The dust is settling down, and we
Hmm.
are writing more from. And a lot of women authors have come in to talk
Yes.
about, like
Absolutely.
yourself. You're talking for women in a beautiful way, and even with mythology, it's the same thing. Although I have been to book launches where there have been like angry people whenever this happens,
Yes.
but I think that's a good thing. One should
Yes.
fight. One should fight a little to come up for better conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah.
A chapter in the book which I really appreciated was about authenticity and how to achieve that. We have so much going on in the world, whether you are a professional, you are a business owner, entrepreneur, you are an influencer, you are a CEO, CFO, whatever. One has to be authentic. We see that on LinkedIn a lot. We see that everywhere. But
Right.
how to be that authentic self when there's so much going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, the word authentic has been thrown around so much these days that, honestly, I had to, when I was writing about authenticity, like, I know its meaning, or its interpretation in my mind, but
Yeah.
how do I write about authenticity, and, like, what is its perceived nature? It took a lot of research to find out what all authenticity means. And I think for me, and how to answer your question about how to be authentic, I think it's about connecting with your inner self. Like, we all get so distracted by what we are supposed to be showing up as in society. I think that that this certain standard that we have to maintain, or like, certain show that we have to put up. I think all of that, ignoring all of that, and like, just sitting back in, diving back in deep inside of yourself, and like, finding who you are, what really matters to you, and staying true to that. I would say that is being authentic. And like, sometimes I've been to, like, again, like self-help. I have also been to these sessions, or like, followed the certain podcasts, or followed certain people who teach you how to be authentic or how to be confident. I think a few of those things that cannot be taught. It is just about being yourself, and like being who you truly are. Whatever is inside should be outside. I think that is how I would put being authentic.
Easier said than done. It's
Yeah.
it's so tough,
I know it
It's
is.
because we are under so much pressure to pretend. I mean,
Yes.
social media, for example, a lot of people, like, since it's the Booknerds podcast, we
Yes.
see a lot of performative reading these
Yes.
days.
Yes.
People are just showing up with books,
Yes. Yes.
just like getting themselves clicked, and they are not actually reading the book. It's crazy how we can get affected and start behaving in a manner which we don't really want to. Why do you have to pretend to do something which you are not actually doing?
Yeah.
What are the challenges you have faced regarding that? How have you kind of how are you trying to, or have
Yeah.
already done so?
So, you know what? Like, I think, like, I have always been a very authentic person, in the sense that, like, I know that fact because people always come up to me and tell me that, can't you be a little bit nice? Like, can't you sugarcoat things? And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be mean. It is just that
Oh
I
my
am
God.
just being who I am, and I'm just giving the very honest feedback, or like, I'm just telling you very honestly, this way or that way, right? So I've always been that way, and I think that the struggle that I faced was that I have to be able to put on a show,
Oh,
and if I
the
do
other way
not,
around.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's other way around. And
Yeah.
if I do not, then I am not good enough, right? And I think that I think we all face that struggle, and that is how we lose authenticity. I think we are, like, as children, we are all authentic. And I
Yeah.
think as we enter into our adult life, we have to, like, catching up with the Genesis, like, that kind of a thing, where we have to make sure that we are matching up to everybody else who are around us. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is important because, again, like, they say fake it till you make it, or something like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, authenticity is not something that is really rewarded in society today. We want to say that we encourage authenticity, but at the same time, we truly don't. So I
Absolutely.
think
Absolutely.
my struggles came from being okay with that, and learning that I am okay to be disliked.
Yeah.
What matters to me is not being liked by people. What matters to me more is I'm authentic, because that way I know I can go to bed peacefully at night and
Yeah.
not worry about what pretense I had today that I have to carry on tomorrow. No, I can't do that.
Oh my gosh, you are an anomaly, especially coming from
Oh, I
India.
get told that a lot.
You are, you are, but I truly appreciate that, because it's something which I struggle with every day, and I've tried to kind of do this, not speak my mind at most times. Like, I
Hmm.
don't talk about politics anymore.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't really. I avoid it at
Yeah.
all costs. But even then, it creeps up. It will
Yes,
never
it
go
does.
away. I will
Yeah.
talk about politics. So
And I know the way I dealt with it over the years was that I would be quiet in rooms that I know that I don't need to be ruffling feathers. I mean, yes, if it is a matter of importance and it is going to change course of somebody's life, I will speak up. But if it is something that, like, oh, it's a casual discussion and people are
yeah.
arguing about one opinion against the other, in those situations, I prefer to maintain friendships rather than give opinions.
I just
But
wrote here. I just
yeah,
wrote on my page
yeah,
silence. Because that's what I think. It's a very powerful tool. I think it's a
yeah,
very powerful tool. If you can't
yeah,
say something which is not going to, improve the situation,
Yeah,
Let's
yeah. So
choose
when
science.
it is impactful, when it is really going to change a situation or impact somebody's life, I will speak up for sure. But in other
Absolutely.
rooms, I feel like, you know what, it's okay.
Not
Sometimes
worth.
I feel like, when people ask me, no, no, you tell me your opinion, I'm like, well, I was quiet. Like, if you want me to say something, I'm going to be brutally honest. So you be prepared to hear it. Like,
That's, but
Yeah,
it's a great tool. And,
yeah.
great segue into, talking about picking one's battles, which is a very important part of the book.
Yes.
And in the context of what you're writing about women, how they need to kind of, uh, go ahead in life
Yes.
and perhaps, not conduct themselves, but just be, a lot of factors go into how to become a wholesome person. Um,
Right.
so you talk about picking your battles,
Yes.
and this is that's why I wanted to speak to you about
Yes.
how does one decide, And I know that you have mentioned that in a room where
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Yes.
like this happened, it is better to stay silent.
Yeah.
But what are you really talking about these battles?
So again, like, we all face situations in our day-to-day lives where we don't agree with the person who we are talking to, or we are not happy with the situation that we have been put in. I think that picking your battles, what I try to do is that, like I try to differentiate at several different levels. The first one is that, does this battle really have a long term impact? Is it just about winning this argument today, and
Yeah.
and that's it, and I'll be the winner, that's all? Or is it really about presenting how this position or this situation is going to impact my future work from today onwards? I think making that decision based on, like, how important really this is, that is one. And the second is that, because again, like, we may come across those major battles, like once in a while. There are trivial battles you'll get 10 in a day. And The second thing that I use as a tool to understand which battle I want to pick is it really worth the time, money, energy, the stress that I will go through for this? Is it really worth it? Like, what am I trying to achieve out of this? If it is just going to drain me out with nothing in end, then just leave it. The other thing that I prioritize is relationships. I think that relationships are very hard. Small battles can destroy or break relationships that took many years to build. And sometimes, if you value that relationship or a certain relationship more than winning that certain argument, I think it is best to not fight that battle, and, like, give value or give importance to the relationship. I think men would know this a lot more, because they do that on their day-to-day basis. It comes naturally to them as they try to avoid battles with their wives. But
Absolutely, absolutely, we do, but it's a very hard art,
it
to be
is
honest.
it is hard.
I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it at all. I always pick the wrong battle and I lose miserably.
I
So,
mean, so have I not done that? Yes, I have. And do I
yeah,
always make sure that I pick the right battles? No, I don't. Sometimes it is in retrospect that you learn it, and then it is a
yeah,
learned behavior. And I think the most important battles that I think I will always fight, no matter how much energy it takes, no matter how much resource it takes, are the things that matter to me morally, or, like, if it's a moral question,
yeah,
I will make sure that I will give it my all. So
absolutely.
it's important to be able to, kind of like, if you're able to do it about 80% of the time, it's okay. Like, 20% of the time we all fall off track.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that requires a podcast in itself, like how to pick your battles. That's
Yeah.
that's a podcast in itself. I think you should make a video on that if you haven't already.
If I
For the
make
next,
it, then I will. Then my family, my husband or my mom would hold me to it. Like, I will then have to, like, not do those battles, which I unnecessarily do sometimes.
yes, absolutely. So much to learn from the book. It's an easy read. That's something which I really appreciated. A lot of examples in the book of strong women and successful women who have done well. Madame Curie, there is Sheryl Sandberg, Indra Nooyi, all those names, and from mythology, history. so many examples. Cleopatra, you talk about Cleopatra. Which one is your favorite? And where do you kind of draw the most inspiration from, perhaps? It's a very cliched question, but I
Yeah,
think most of us draw some inspiration, major inspiration from some people in
yeah.
life.
I would say, I mean, I a lot of these stories. I mean, I would find all of these women very inspirational, and that is why I've
Yeah.
specifically used these stories.
Yeah.
Um, the the shocking part was for me to when I was reading about or when I was doing some research about Cleopatra. I think,
Yeah.
um, as we all know, like certain times we have read about certain people only in a very negative light or in a certain seductive manner because it's a woman,
Yeah.
and
Always in popular culture, Cleopatra is always this, symbol of, you
yeah,
know,
symbol of beauty and symbol of
beauty, and she's trying to kind of, uh, yeah, it's kind of only materialistic and
yeah.
in a very carnal sort of way.
Yeah. And then when there was that comparison, like in that book, I've written a sentence about comparing her, the history about her, to
Hmm.
with Julius Caesar, who only was the king for 2 years, and we still have heard and read so much about what great a king he was. So I think that was one of the enlightening moments for me as well, that like maybe it is possible that whatever women's achievements have been there in the past, they really had to work 10 times harder and still not get noticed for that, right? And I think that is why all of these women are inspirational.
Yeah.
In today's times, I would say Sal in
Sorry,
Australia.
sorry to interrupt, but how long was she kind of Cleopatra? I think 20
I
odd years
think
or
it was 2 decades or something like
decades
that.
or something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's crazy that she's
Mm-hmm.
not talked about enough in that manner. And like you said, that of course I'll take
Yeah.
that example from there.
Yes.
I I I think 7 odd years back, I was interviewing this author from Uttarakhand, and she is a Hindi author. She was very old, okay, and around 80 years old, and I just went to her home, and because she didn't have a phone also, like I just went to her home and
Okay.
interviewed her for
Yeah.
a bit, and she told me, and just this thought came to my mind, that she told me that back in the 50s, like she was born maybe in 40s or something. In back in the 50s, uh, they were not allowed to write.
Oh,
They were
wow.
not allowed to become authors.
Wow.
So
Yes.
that's why she had a repository of a lot of text that she had
Yeah.
written.
Wow.
But later on in life, when she got kind of confidence, her sons, encouraged her. She published a lot of stuff
Okay.
after that. So, and she started writing very late in life.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a crazy story because I could understand that back in the day, women were not allowed to, do all this. I could
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Being from the city I live in, and it's very
Hmm.
cosmopolitan kind of place. So
Yes. Yeah.
I could understand that. So that's something that came to my mind. But you were saying about a modern example.
So in the modern example, I would say Cassie Means, like she's a physician in US, and she's speaking up and against the pharma industry, and like being a physician herself, she doing that in US is like pretty much
Oh,
like killing your career. And she's taking that stand, and she's doing that. And then in Australia, there is Sal, who's speaking about women's rights, but in a completely different manner. I think women are starting to speak up and starting to make sure that they stand the ground, not just for themselves, but for women around them as well. And I think not just women, maybe even like for the society overall. And I think it is very important for us as society to encourage women who are taking those stands, because sometimes we all forget that what all it takes to build a good balanced society.
yeah. I feel that I don't know about real life, how, I don't have any observations about that right now. It has happened, but in terms of social media, especially, women have taken over.
Yeah,
They are just, they dominate social
yeah,
media.
true.
I don't know if it's the accounts that I'm following, but it's just I feel
Yes.
get that feeling when I go on the
Mm-hmm.
internet now on social media. It's
Mm-hmm.
mostly women, with those reels. They are very effective. They
Yes.
talk very confidently,
Yes.
and men men are just catching up. To be honest, they are not
Yes.
getting the views. They're not getting the views. It's not
Okay.
about how these women are looking or something. They just have it
Yes.
like under control. They are
Mm-hmm.
very so the process
Yes.
is very they have caught up with the kind process. They know
Yeah.
how to be systematic. They know how to batch process.
Mm-hmm.
This sphere, especially in the
Yes.
influencer and kind of
Yeah.
sphere, talking about important topics on the
Mm-hmm.
internet. I feel women are killing it, and I
Yeah.
think they should keep
And
going.
I think probably the reason for that is also because that there are no situations in that scenario where they really have to keep up with something, or they really have to get approval by somebody. I think because on
Yeah,
social media, like, they don't have to go through those
yeah.
barriers
So,
that in traditional professions we all have to go through, which is good. Like, in situations where women are not obstructed, they flourish so quickly. It's such a great example of that.
yeah, that's a great point. I never thought about that because those hoops that one has to kind of,
Yeah.
go through, that's all gone. It's
Yeah.
D2C. It's like, the modern startups. We
Yes.
have
Yeah.
a message and we
Yeah.
give it to the customer directly. It's
Yeah.
like that. There's nobody to stop them. And that's why I think they get a lot of hate on the
Yes.
internet also. Because everybody is worried. Like, oh my gosh, where are we going? Women domination. What's happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody is afraid right now. Great.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Yeah.
Things have to balance out.
Yeah.
Okay. Last but not the least, some book recommendations from you because you have mentioned some books in
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
book in a very good meta way, and
Mm-hmm.
it gels well with the narrative as well.
Yeah.
Some books that you appreciate or you have appreciated over like 2 3 years or something, or
Yeah,
a
so
recent.
I think my most favorite, and I never read one book two times, but I have read this book more than two times, is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yes.
Um, in politics, I like this book, One Man's View of the World. It is about the president of Singapore and how he views Singapore versus the other countries, and how the
Yeah.
regions are developing. Then
That's
I like,
interesting. That's an interesting recommendation because
yeah,
uh, he has pulled off a heist with kind of the country. It's doing
yes,
so well and
yes,
in a very
absolutely.
limited sort of area. I'll check
Yeah.
that out definitely.
Yeah, that is a
And
good one. And then I like, in from literature, I love Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace,
right.
uh, and I like Salman Rushdie's collection of stories, and, like, I like his style of writing. I would say that my style of writing is inspired by his way of writing things, like very raw, very bold. So I like
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And since we were talking about a book, about women's point of view, there is
Yeah.
this book by an Indian author. I forget the name of the author, but the book is called Palace of Illusions. It
Yes.
is
Come back.
it's Draupadi's view of the Mahabharata.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah,
great book. That's a great
yeah,
book. That's a favorite of so many.
yeah,
And yeah, great recommendations. Love reading the book. Guys, check out the book on Amazon. It's available, I think, of course, it's available in India and in other countries, US, Canada, of course, right?
yes.
And any other places where they can find the book.
I think currently it is only available on Amazon, and I think maybe Ziffy Bees in India.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think Amazon would be the best place to find it. What I'll do is I'll put the link in the comments, in the caption as well. So you can find out the book from there, read it, let us know what you think about it. Do you agree with what Dr. Miral has written about? Give her feedback. She's very good with it. Now that we have figured out that she's very good with taking feedback. That's always a good thing to give to an author because then, in the next one figures out like maybe the
Hmm.
voice needs a bit of a tweaking or maybe the language or maybe editing everything, right? There are so many things that are happening in the book. Do give that feedback, it's very valuable. And where can they find you on the internet? That's very important.
They can find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram
Okay.
with my name, Dr. Miral Mehta, and you should be able to find me on there.
Great. We'll leave the links also in the caption. Uh, Only message her with, like, if it's relevant. Don't just message her, okay, just like that, because she doesn't have time. She's a busy person. But what happens is, it has happened previously that readers get too passionate about someone and they start messaging randomly. That's also okay if
Mhm.
it's just to praise the book.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. Or just speak about the book. It has to be relevant, guys. Not like hi, hello, whatever. That shouldn't happen. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Meal. And anything for the readers? Any message, final message for them? Thank you so much for talking in a very transparent manner. And the book is also like that. It's just like you.
Yes. Yeah. No, thank you so much. I think the only message that I would say, the topic that we discussed, like, be authentic.
Great, great. I think so. Being authentic is the most vital thing right now, and I think I'll share my learnings from this podcast in the intro. Do check it out. Of course, you would have watched it by now, but I'll do that as well. And a great learning experience. That's why I love the Booknerds podcast. Not that it's mine, but I just learn so much from authors, and I hope that you can also do the same. And we'll be back with another author in the next episode. And till then, happy reading and happy writing for the authors out there as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Miral, for being on the
Thank
Book
you so
Nerds.
much. Thank you. It was a pleasure.